Hello, and welcome to the fourth episode of Three Ways to Say It. I'm your host, Ty Carter.
I'm Casey.
And I'm Ashley.
Today we have a very serious topic that we're going to discuss today. This is a topic that is very near and dear to my heart. It's very sensitive. And so we just want to bring awareness to suicide. Last decade, suicide rates in the U.S. increased dramatically for Black adults in the U.S. Among racial and ethnic minorities and Black Americans in particular, suicide deaths occur across the lifespan and have increased for Black youth. But the highest rate of death is among the Black Americans aged 25 to 34 years of age, said Walker. Suicide is just a topic that me and my coworkers, we discuss on a daily basis because we are experiencing situations where, someone has committed suicide that we either know or someone else we know. Just last week, my 13-year-old daughter, Addison, had a friend and classmate to kill himself through suicide. So my prayers go out to that family tonight, the Poole family. Suicide is something that we don't necessarily always understand as to why a person, get to a place in life where they feel like they have to commit suicide. But it does happen all the time. I will like to touch on the fact that in 2021, I lost a second cousin to suicide. For the sake of my family, because I have not discussed this with them, I'm not going to reveal his name, but I am going to say his initials, which is TP. This is one of my family members that was very loved. The life of the party, always smiling, always telling people that he loved them. And when I tell you, it came out of nowhere. I had no awareness that my cousin was suffering in the manner that he was, only because I wasn't really in touch with him because, we adults and we have our own lives. But when I tell you, it hit me like a ton of bricks when I found out, because it was nothing that I can do about it. I couldn't undo it, and it was just done. So I find myself at that moment reading a lot about suicide and what happens to a person when they commit suicide. I also wanted to know, why would you do that? I just wanted to understand it. So me, when I don't understand anything, I just go to Google and I read things on that subject matter. One of the things that I did run across at that particular time was an article by Nancy, and she has a difficult name. It's School Mel Fanning. She also had this particular article was reviewed by medical Dr. Carly Snyder. And it was called Reasons Why People Commit Suicide. The number one reason is mental illness. Mental illness comes in all types of forms. It can be bipolar, borderline personality disorder, eating disorder, schizophrenia, traumatic stress. You can go through some trauma in your life, whether it's childhood, it could be sexual abuse. They have a survey that about 6,000 U.S. adults, nearly 22 other people who have been raped attempt suicide. So you can also be a person who have, been raped before. Mm-hmm. Substance abuse is another reason why a person would commit suicide. Loss or fear of loss. And I do want to dive into that one just a little bit, because up under this topic here, it just kind of tells you when people are experiencing loss, one of the things that they can be thinking about is academic failure. So a lot of times our college students, when they get to college, it's serious, just going from high school to that college workload. Being arrested or imprisonment, sometimes people get in trouble. Being bullied, shaming, humiliation, cyberbullying. I did hear recently from a friend that's in the area of counseling, told me about an incident where a 14-year-old, she was cyberbullied into killing herself through the game of Roblox. Something that I had no idea that people are targeting our young youth from Roblox. Also, it can be financial problems. It can be end of a close relationship, like a romantic relationship. It can be a job loss, loss of a friend or a family member. And also too, it can be when sometimes people come out, about their sexuality and whether or not their family, is receiving of the news that they receive. Sometimes people commit suicide based on things like that. And the last one I wanted to just say is just loss of social status, which you don't even think about that, but that's something too. Another reason could be hopelessness, when you just feel that you can no longer live this life anymore. Or you can have chronic pain and illness, things like back pain, cancer, AIDS, heart disease, high blood pressure. These are all things that people will contemplate or think about suicide. Also, feeling like you're a burden to your others. Social isolation, cry for help, and accidental suicide. I want to just say a little bit more about accidental suicide. They have this thing that's called like Space Monkey, where the children will, or adults will just try to like choke themselves to get a high. And so they're not really trying to do it, but they're playing a game and then they accidentally kill themselves. So there are so many ways that really saddens me, because I know that for myself, this happened in 2021, but I still think about my cousin today. So I do want to dedicate this episode in his memory, just to celebrate the life that he shared with his family. I remember one quick incident is that he had this unique car that was real souped out, convertible, real flashy. And I remember going to work one morning and I saw a car that looked like that one. And before I knew it, I was in tears. And it took me back to the moment where I had first found out that he killed himself. And I instantly thought, why? Like, why did he do that? And I also wanted to know what happened to you when you do that. One of the things I read, and I'm sorry I did not get the persons so that I could acknowledge them, but one of the reasons is that when you do that, you don't even have room to say, I'm sorry, or to ask for forgiveness, because it's an act that you can leave a note and say that, but still you're committing an act. So it's like you do it and you can't repent from it. So when you get to heaven, or when you get, well, let me take that back. When you get to judgment, you still have unfinished business.
It's a heavy topic, but we always talk about it at work, and I always tell you how suicide is just, it's something. Whenever I hear it, it really doesn't matter who they are, the age, anything. That's something that really, suicide and seeing people in their own lives is like something that really hits home for me, because not to say I ever thought about it, but I've had those personal alone moments where, like you say, you give the different examples of why people do it. And for example, I was at school, and I'll talk about this because I've discussed it with my, mom. I talked about it with y'all. So I had those alone moments at school where I was in a major that I didn't feel like I was succeeding in. And since me being an overachiever, being a disappointment to somebody is just not something I want to be. So of course now I've grew to the point where I knew like I'm doing it for myself, and stuff happens. But before I didn't have that strong mindset and that type of mentality. So when I got to the point of where stuff wasn't going my way at school, I was in those alone moments where I was just like, I just saw nothing else. And so I understand. I'm not gonna say, because I always say there's other options, but when in those feelings and those emotions, I understand it, because when you are by yourself in those alone moments, and it was crazy. It was at a time where I really didn't even, I had those college friends, but we weren't on the level where I was being as vulnerable with them. Those are people I just go to parties with and stuff. So I was just by myself. And the one person in which I know it's hard for me to kind of tell my mama, because I don't want her to ever feel like she wasn't there for me. But the one person I had to talk to, I couldn't tell, because of course, before you think like when you go to school, you're trying to make your parents proud. So of course you don't want to go tell them like I'm not doing well or something is not going my way. And I picked those colleges and stuff. You also don't want to deal with that disappointment yourself. So in those moments, I just felt alone. I felt like I didn't see, I wasn't looking at the next day. I was dwelling on the past, dwelling on what was happening right then. If a test wasn't going my way, or I felt like I was studying and nothing was clicking, it was some, I had extreme migraines. Nothing was just go, it just felt like everything was crashing down on me. And luckily I'm better, I got through it, got a master's now. I'm good today. But in those moments, I think that was my sophomore, junior year of an undergrad. And I understand. I just felt alone. I had nobody to talk to about it. It wasn't like I can go to. I felt like when I was in class, and because I this when I was a bio major, and those other people who was in my major with me, they knew what they were doing. I mean, or at least they made it seem like they, it's like they were excelling. They didn't seem like they were struggling. They might have been, but they were good at hiding it. But me, I was in those classes, and them teachers were going so fast. I was just like, what? I was like, come on, like and it's only because that just wasn't my true want and desire out of a career. And the only reason I did it is because like and especially in Black families, you always go for the money. It sounds bad, but you are told like go be a nurse, go be a doctor, go be these things, which is right. I mean, that's where the money is, to be honest. But there are other careers, and you always want to go what you're passionate about. But I didn't make that choice. I let other people make that choice for me. And I doing that, I laid in that bed I made. And it did not turn out good for me. So I didn't have anybody to talk to, couldn't talk to any students around. I just felt like nobody understood. And I think that's where the aloneness comes from. So I will say, and I understand those people in their last moments, I do get that alone. Most people, they feel alone. They feel like nobody understands. So I do understand that emotion. What was my major? I was a biology major, but I was going to be a physical therapist. That's what I was aiming to do. Mind you, I came from a school where first everything was so confusing. I just went under biology because the first school couldn't tell me, but when I switched to the school I ended up graduating from, they actually kind of cleared it up for me. It was like, you get these credits, you can get in the path to be a physical therapist. But I was so deep into like not understanding stuff, it was hard for me it's hard to get to the top without a foundation. So when I was those classes like microbiology, all that stuff, I didn't know nothing about that stuff. I mean, like, not to like say my high school teachers didn't do their job, but it was just like I was just ignorant to a lot of those different skills, like the stuff in it. And it's hard to just learn that stuff in just a semester. I know a lot of people do, props to them, but for people like me who are not, equipped with those scientific skills and stuff, I just could not learn that stuff. And it's really the biggest thing because that's never was my passion. English was. So I ended up switching to that, and I definitely got out of it. But yeah, I do understand those alone moments. And I think that's what a lot of people go through. So yeah.
So did you ever reach out to your mother about it?
I'm gonna say, okay, when I first went to school, when I was a freshman, I picked the wrong school for me. And my mom was like, really, like, she all about decisions. She support whatever I do, but she also would say, if you pick this, you're gonna have to deal with it. So I guess already having to switch schools, I don't think I wanted to bother her with anything else. We had to go through that like transfer, transferring schools and stuff. I feel like you built so much here and then you having to do all this moving so early on. And I didn't want to bother her with nothing else. So no, I did not, which it was a mistake. I did not tell her like what my state was, what my condition was at school. Of course I talked to her every day, but of course, you can talk to people all the time and you don't have to tell them 80% of the stuff going on. Right. So I did not disclose how I was doing.
So your mom wasn't even aware.
She wasn't even aware that I was just. She knew that I.
That's one of the things. Like, so where that comes from, I guess, is just you've been in your alone time, or maybe you don't want to burden your mom or something like. That's what I'm hearing. A lot of parents just are not aware that the child is suffering, especially when you're not seeing a child on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So you're just checking in with them like, hey, how's school going? And they're saying to you, I'm good. And so you're thinking that, and they're thinking that you're good because you're kind of pain.
Yeah. So yeah, I just say to any advice to any young people, please go to school. If you're gonna go to school or decide to go to college or university, please decide on a major that you are passionate about, because once you're in those things, you can definitely become unhappy. And really since everybody else, most majority around you are picking stuff that they like, you don't want to feel alone in that moment where you cannot, nobody else understand your situation about it, So yeah. Ugh.
Well, and I was talking to one of my daily friends that I talk to at work. And so she was just telling me about another coworker who was having a bad day, a young girl. And she was saying that she had a phone call or something and things didn't go right or whatever. And she was upset. And so when she did decide to, talk to somebody about it, she talked to, a mature adult, just say like more of a elderly person to talk to. I guess somebody that she felt very confident, with, also somebody that she felt that was spiritual and, things like that. I think we all have people that we talk to at work that, kind of soothe us or make us feel or remind us our mother, grandparent, aunt, or somebody like that. I have people all the time. Even though I'm a young chick, I do have people that like to talk to me. like a senior adult. And I'm 21, so why you're... But anyway, so they proceeded to tell me that the young lady was just having a difficult time. And in the spur of the moment, she was just like, hey, I don't want to be here anymore. I just feel like killing myself. And in that moment, the person that she was confiding in said, do it. When I tell you, it just hurt my heart to hear that a person would be so insensitive to tell a person who is struggling in the moment, somebody that's coming to you for, you have to think about it. If they're feeling that way, they're coming to you for help. They're coming to you for a kind word, something. And for you, an adult, to tell somebody to do it, you have no impact how that could have been or that could have went the other way. You have to choose those moments to make sure that you are a light for people and that you don't, say the wrong thing to people, because people can act on things just like that.
Yeah. And I think, and that's the problem with our community. Like, we do not take stuff like that seriously at all. Like,
right.
And it's crazy because it's happening to us more than ever right now. And our job should be to be a listening ear, especially younger people, like to be able to hear people out and kind of create a safe space always, with free of judgment. When somebody say they want to end their life, that should never be taken lightly. Like, no matter, I don't see a case or a situation where it should be taken lightly. It's like nothing to play with. Like, I don't know.
That's the person crying out for help, for whatever reason, and you need to treat that seriously. And I mean, you have adults, you have teens, you just have, and like I read earlier, it comes in so many forms. Everybody's situation is not the same. Everybody is, their moment with this is coming from different things. It's not one. So you just never know. And it's most of the time the people that you see smiling, that you think is okay, it's those ones that do something like this. And I think just also thinking about back when the news hit about Twitch, that was just such a shocker for me because I watch him dance. He looks so happy, a family man. And you just would think that he has so much going for himself. And you see how happy he is. He was on a great show. He's so loved. And I was talking to one of my other co-workers who know him personally because her, and she just shared some things as well. Like, he was very loved and happy, and no one saw that. So sometimes you have to understand that people have other things that they're struggling through and they're, fighting anyway. So, they're kind of fighting battles that we don't know about. And it's not like one event. It's just like a series of events that kind of tip them over. So you have to be out and having those conversations. I do know that recently I did have a friend of mine. We were just having chat just because of this recent suicide with Addison's friend. So we were just talking, and another friend of mine confided in me that they have had those thoughts before. and they've had those thoughts, but what made them not act on it was just the fact that they have children and they know that they need to raise their children.
Yeah.
So suicide is not something that's just affecting our community. It affects other communities. It affects people, all backgrounds.
Yeah.
All income levels, all education levels. It's just something that's increasing.
Yeah.
Yes, and also to go back to what you said, about the incident that happened at work with the young lady and the older lady. Just to go a little deeper, because y'all know I like to go a little deeper.
Okay, get in there.
And not saying that because she's older, older people do this and young people don't do that, but maybe from her generation, we noticed that a lot of older people is always, y'all know I don't like that strong word anymore. It's kind of like, I dealt with it, this, that whole little thing. And it's, and I feel like that's where it was coming from. Like, okay, do it then. Do it. If you say you're going to do it, do it. And it's, and I feel like that's why a lot of children or young children, kids, teenagers don't feel safe with parents or family, is because it's always this be strong, I did it, you can do it type of mentality. And we have to get away from that in our community. Yes, in certain situations, we do have to have that strength. I like strength, even though it's the same, but it's something about saying strong that bothers me.
Yeah.
But, that inner strength and all that. But if you cannot handle certain situations, it is okay.
Yeah.
And be honest and talk to the person that you want to talk to or you need to talk to, let them know, or counseling. That's just my thought about that. We literally have to start being honest. As older adults anyway.
Yeah.
And saying that it's okay that you cannot handle this situation. I went through that. Did some steps that I took to get through that, or being honest about, like, I couldn't handle that situation.
Yeah.
And it's okay. We'll get some help for you, whatever. So.
And I think we need to get out of that, like, kind of measuring things when it's not, okay, say if it's not all the way right, it's tough love. Everything is not tough love. Like, I know a lot of people do that where even when somebody over disciplined or, or they, now I ain't gonna say like physical, like some people do that physical discipline stuff, but sometimes when they overdo it or they do something to embarrass their child or something, it's always noted as tough love. That everything is not tough love. And why does every situation need tough love? I feel like it's a cop out. I feel like when you say tough love is because you don't want to show actual love and actual care. Like, yeah, I'm gonna do it the easy way. I'm gonna do it where I'm gonna like hit you or say this about you or say something thinking like I'm gonna say it in the worst way so you'll get it this way. No, that's a way to cop out and actually sitting there talking to somebody, seeing what's wrong, diving deeper, and like you say, actually putting that emotion out of stuff. And we do that so much in our community. Tough love is like it's a curse. I'm gonna tell you that it's a curse. Everything does not take tough love. Right. Yeah. Because everybody ain't as strong,
right,
as the person giving us tough love,
Like, I know with me, I don't even know if I can really do that tough love. It seems like it's easier said than done. Because when my children need me, I'm going to do everything I can for them.
Yeah.
Like I mean, but at the same time, I want to be their parent, and I do in certain circumstances, I do tough love, because I want to make sure that they are responsible. But I mean, one thing, I watched the live of the child, Addison's friend, mom. And one of the things that she said, and I think people need to be aware, is that when you become a parent, you don't know how to do that. That's your first time at that job. It's just like when you do any other job, you got to learn how to do it. Yep. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to not always do things right. And I think it's not a manual. I know I've done things wrong and haven't always done the best thing, but I've always loved my children and always first in everything that I do. But that parent was just saying that she didn't see it coming. And I can see that sometimes you don't see it coming because your child is not talking to you about certain things. I know I was having just a conversation with Haley this morning, and Haley said some things to me that I had nowhere. I just didn't know anything about it. And she happened to just share it with me today. So y'all will get a chance to meet Haley later on. She's going to and talk with y'all. Just know I don't know what Haley's going to say. And I authentically her. So we will hear from my daughter a little bit later in this episode.
I did want to add. Well, go ahead. Go ahead. I don't want.
Go ahead. Oh no, go ahead.
Okay, I was just gonna add because she just said something about the parents stuff, and that also with it being where no parents have a manual. Even if it was a manual, stuff change every day. It's stuff that you really can't prepare. I mean, prepare your children for. Like literally, every time you turn on the news, it's something where we, in the Black community, we got a problem. We looking at something and we forget about it the next day. But people like us with this logical thinking and think about how this affects, the children to come. We think like that's crazy that that's happening. That's a shocking thing happening. That's another shocking thing happening. That's a thing we ain't see happening. Think about like time ago where you didn't hear about like no 12-year-old and 14-year-old killing themselves. I mean, like that's nowhere near the norm. I mean, yeah, of course, suicide has always been an occurrence, but to hear children like this young doing this should not be something where it's like, okay, that's happening now. Like that's just crazy. But yeah, that's why I was saying like with parents, it does make it hard for parents because stuff change every day. So it's really it can't be a rule book. So, yeah.
I to say this, and just in case I didn't say it earlier. So I was told by a professional about the Roblox. Roblox is something that I let Addison, she play Roblox. But what I was told recently is that in that game there is a group of people that are encouraging the children to kill themselves. So that's a whole nother thing that I wasn't even aware of. You got some adults in there, you got these organizations that don't like certain ethnic groups. You got all these kind of people in there, and sometimes they're in there to lure children for rape, kidnap them for things. And so one of the things that they're doing is that they're getting these children to commit suicide. So recently, another kid did commit suicide from playing Roblox. And it was in her, let's just say that you need to monitor. And I don't think that parents are aware of it because I'm not aware of it. So as my friend was just telling me, be careful, monitor your child, go through your child's phone, which is something that I don't do. My child is pretty smart. I didn't really feel the need to go through my child's phone. But when I'm listening to a professional that does this every day, so you need to, I am going to go through my child's phone. I'm going to go through my child's phone actually tomorrow. She's not going to like it, but yes, I am, because I want to know what's in the phone just to make sure. I know that she's on these games, and I know that she's that age. And if her friend was able to do something like that, then that's just to me, it's a wake up call for other parents to say, you know what? Wait a minute.
It's possible.
That's right. It's possible. Even though my child is, a child that I don't really worry about a thing like that with, just because of how she is, but still, I'm going to go through that phone. So I'll keep y'all posted on that. But I'm going to go through the phone. I'm going to have some more conversations with her because I need to.
Yeah.
Right.
The time now is to check on your children when you see this alarming rate of children wanting to commit suicide, and just checking on your child anyway, because it's predators out there. So yeah.
I 100% agree. I have a niece. I don't have any children, but I do have a niece, and since she became, I ain't gonna say became part of our family, since she's been born, you see this pure innocent soul around the house, and you just want to cuddle it. You want to take care of it. You don't want any harm, danger to come towards her. So I think and I also think it opened my eyes to intentional parenting as well. I don't have any children. We know it's not a manual to raising kids. We know I can raise my kids to the best of my ability, but your kids gonna do whatever they want to do. I was a
Mm-hmm.
child. My siblings were children. We did whatever we want to do, even though we knew the right thing. So throwing it
Mm-hmm.
out there, we were not angels. But I would say with my niece being around, I'm starting to see that emotional side that I didn't see with my parents growing up, and I love it. I do love that they tell them that they love her when she leaves, or being, aware that she does have a cell phone at 11. And
I think Haley got one at 9, and I think Addison got one at 8.
yes, and it's a new world now, so I can't get mad. And
Yeah.
I didn't get my first phone till 10th grade or something like that, and I had to
Yeah, I
beg
did.
for it. But I think I think that's the part where we have to be honest with our children, is when we're having these discussions, let them know that it is uncomfortable. Like, hey, it's just a little uncomfortable, because it makes it, to me, this is just my opinion. It's like, if we're gonna talk about suicide, you don't want to just like, hey, make sure you looking at, ain't nobody telling you to kill yourself, blah blah.
Yeah.
It's just kind of
Mm-hmm.
like, okay. But if you actually sit down and say, hey, we got to talk about suicide, and I
Mm-hmm.
know you're not gonna do that, or if you're having issues with this, open up and be more vulnerable, and not just don't look at your phone, don't look at this, and just throw the phone away. It's more so of just opening up, letting them know that I love you regardless of what you do or what you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
I guess this is what I'm seeing now with my niece. So, yeah.
So say, look in your phone now. I just want to. I'm not trying to spy on you. I'm not trying to invade your privacy, but I do want to just make sure there's nothing of concern in your phone. And
Yeah.
after, I am your parent, and I pay the bill. So,
and I do think too, that parents have to start taking accountability as well. We just got to start being honest. Y'all know I'm about all trying to be honest. Let's go ahead and get to the truth and get to it. And it's just, I think as I get older, I just see, like, yes, it hurts at the beginning, but once you get to that light, like, it's on from there. Like,
Yeah.
you're open to love, you're open to communicate. And no, it's not easy. No, it's not easy. Nobody said it's gonna be easy, but we got to get through it, because, like I said, even if the children don't, or people don't commit suicide, it comes out in different ways. Their emotions, it comes out at work, it comes out at home, it comes out through your children. Like, I'm just not understanding how we don't take this serious in our community. And not saying that we're not, but I'm just not seeing a big roar
I think
about
we're
this.
taking it serious. It's just that you don't know. I don't. So when I was talking to my family members about my cousin who committed suicide, when I was talking